In particular, I'm delighted that the National Learning Network Bantry could join us. I'm aware of the incredible work you do in West Cork and the significant difference that that makes, not just to students but to the broader community there. Other deputies have mentioned that the statistics show that Ireland has disgracefully low employment rate for people with disabilities, and today's discussion and the previous session on this topic, I think, just illustrate the realities for disabled people whose right is being restricted and eroded continuously. And just quickly to touch on the conversation on the disability allowance, and Senator Conway was talking about at a certain point there has to be a drop off that, and I think it's important to note that not necessarily, because we know there's an added cost of having a disability which is 10 to 12,000 a year, and I think it's obviously more than that. That's the estimated cost. I think everybody knows that it's more than that, and time and time again what we hear is fear of losing that. You spoke about the middle card. I really just think it's an acknowledged serious barrier that has to be removed. We know there's an added cost. Of course people should be able to keep a disability allowance. But central to this, I suppose, is the appreciation that all people are entitled to meaningful employment as a kind of foundation for independent living, and people have the right to live independently. For the National Learning Network, you discussed the importance of links with local employers in West Cork for kind of creating employment opportunities. I'm wondering if you could outline how you developed those relationships, and have you had to overcome any assumptions or obstacles? You know, when you're with those businesses or companies, have you had to kind of address any of those issues, and how was that done? Advice maybe for other organisations or individuals seeking employment. And as was mentioned by the independent living movement, you outlined the lack of public transport, especially in rural areas, as a significant barrier. It's something we've heard about before as well, but could you give a sense, and perhaps from lived experience, you know, how this barrier impacts people, Alan, if you could. And another question for Alan is, could you tell us about your experience of the training course, a bit more information and how it helped you?
Deputy Kearns, for your questions, and just to, you know, I suppose to copper fasten what Patrick has said, in a previous life I managed a centre for independent living in Limerick, and it's transformative having a PA allowing people to, I suppose, live full, inclusive lives, and I'd echo all his sentiments in that regard. The employer side of it, Deputy, I suppose we work very hard at building relationships. We're involved in chambers of commerce, we're involved in business associations, and maybe in rural areas it's easier to build those links than maybe in urban areas, but we work very hard at, you know, getting to know the main employers in the area and building very strong relationships with the management structures and the HR structures in their organisations, and it turned into a trust thing, I think. So we would have, as I said, quite an extensive database of employers who we can call on for employment options or work experience options and so on. So we work hard at it, to be honest with you. But I think, more generally speaking, there should be more awareness, national awareness campaigns around employers' obligations and the benefits to actually employing people with disabilities within their organisations, and the diversity that brings, and how it helps their organisations. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and just one. I'm conscious that I'm using a lot of time, so I'm sorry, but one of the questions I was wondering is, have you encountered any difficulties with business, or, you know, in relation to presumptions or incorrect presumptions, those kind of things?
Well, absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of stereotyping going on out there, and presumed obstacles, barriers, issues that aren't issues, but in the mindset of people they are of employers. So there's, you know, it reflects society, I think. You know, employers reflect
and that awareness campaign would very much help with that.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, I think so. And transport, you were saying, what it was.
I was going to see, well, even if Alan. If Alan has any experience of that, or how you found it, you know.
Sorry,
access. Do you use public transport in West Cork to get to work, or are you driving?
At the current time, I am living in the same town, so it's a 7-minute walk to where I work. But before I moved to Bantry, I was living in Skibbereen, and
you were living where you were working then as well.
Sorry.
You were living and working in Skib then as well?
Yeah, temporarily. But with my current employer, it's been on and off for the past 3 or 4 years. And so during that time that I was living in Skibbereen, I was heavily dependent on rural transport. For me personally, I never ran into any issues with that service. I can't speak for everybody.
Yep,
But
that's great.
it was nice having that that service because I tell you, I have actually walked from Skibbereen to Bantry, and it is a long process.
Very long.
I don't think I could do that twice a day, 5 days a week. So it really is good to have that. But yeah, like I say, now I don't really need it.
Okay.
And your other question, I'm sorry, what?
I was just going to ask you to elaborate a bit on the course and how it kind of helped you, the course you did in the National Learning.
Okay, well, I actually did two. I did the employment skills training and the employer-based training as well. Well, when I first got here, you know, unbeknownst to me, you know, we are so similar, and you know, as nations. You know, we may look alike, we speak the same language, but culturally, I found that it was a bit of a challenge, and for many years, I struggled to fit in, and my time with NLN helped me assimilate better and granted me the ability to function more in society better than I did before. And it's worked out great with my current employer. They keep asking me to come back. I don't know why, but I must be doing something right. So.
So can I just clarify, Deputy Kearns, on the transport that from Skibbereen to Bantry that Alan referred to? That was a local organised service that Youth Reach, Co-Action, ourselves and Rehab Care came together to link in with Cork Local Link. So that was self-created, it wasn't public service. It's something we had to create to overcome a difficulty.
All right.